Nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together till the grave. It's a game till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip in the hate. We the own in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
we the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everybody, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you again. It's your lunchtime live weather update here on your Tuesday. About 5 to 10 minutes here before noon. So we're going to get down to the details here and show what you can expect for the remainder of today. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video right now at this minute. Hit that button to all of your news feeds. All your friends and family can get an update as well so they know what's coming up for later on today, because today is supposedly a really big severe weather day. So we're going to get into the details and find out if that is still the case. You come to the right place. So we're going to let everybody get trickled in here just for a second. So it's always funny, all the viewerships always just skyrocket during severe weather days. So I get it. You're dying for some sane information that's not blown out of proportion, right? I'm with you. Have you had about 9 or 10 days of blown out of proportion weather lately? So you come to the right place. We're going to tell you what looks like it's really going to happen. By the way, real quick before I get started with the graphics here, I've been mentioning this the last few days off and on, so when you get a chance to do so, I put this in the comments section. If you would like to attend my Weather Talk, it is a Facebook Live event. I'm going to put it together this Thursday at 8 o'clock. No threat of storms that day. Should be nice and quiet. The only storms are going to be the ones we're going to talk about. Hail, lightning, tornadoes, everything. It's going to be family related, kid related. It's all about severe weather, how it forms, kind of what it does, what to look out for, safety, lightning, all that kind of stuff. Somebody asked me, oh, my kid's going to be in bed asleep at 8 o'clock. Can you record it? So I will work to see if I can do that, record the broadcast so that those that wanted to attend, I'll see how Facebook works that. This is a one-time live event, so once it's over, it's gone. So I got to see what I can do. But needless to say, RSVP, shoot me a message after the event maybe, and then if you've gained access to it. So go ahead and pay for it, lock it in, RSVP your slot, and then I'll deal with you after the fact if you didn't get a chance to watch it. So that way I make everybody happy, because I want everybody to be safe during severe weather season. So that's a little tidbit from me to you. All right, let's get on with it, shall we? Let's see. Let's close all this down, and let's get on with this guy here. All right, so first things first, if you've noticed, we've got some clouds that have worked in to Oklahoma, as predicted, as promised, since Saturday I was telling you this was going to be the outcome. All these high-level clouds will come in to the state from a disturbance out in Texas. So it's pretty much running right along I-35. If I were to turn the camera looking out to the west, you can see how much more clear blue sky there is once you face western Oklahoma. So that's going to be pointing toward the dry line that's setting up today. So a lot less cloudiness out that direction than versus out to the east. And that's a big influence in our weather today. We'll talk about that here in a second. Meanwhile, it's 80 degrees, so it is warming up out there. All right. So, unfortunately, I got to talk about it because it's out there. We are in the extreme category for fire risk for today. It only has one more category to go, and that's historic. So, if we don't get some decent rain across Oklahoma for our spring over the next few weeks, we're in trouble, because this will continue to expand, grow, and you know what's going to do? It's going to work its way into this region. And you do not want this thing to work its way into this region, because that's bad for everybody. So we've got to be careful out there. Only takes one spark to start a wildfire, so avoid using everything that's going to cause it. There's some of the list here on the screen. Be informed, be safe, pay attention, heed advice of local officials. If you see smoke, report it, and be ready to move quick. If you thought you were ready to move quick when a tornado warning hits you at 2 o'clock in the morning, you got to be just as quick when you've got a blaze of inferno flames coming your way. Same idea. Got to have a plan, got to have a bug out bag, all that kind of stuff. All right, so what is going to talk about for severe weather now? We have the focus for some nasty severe weather outbreak in Iowa today. Now, we don't live in Iowa, but if you want to know where all the destructive tornadoes will reside across the majority of the country, they will be anchored into one state today, kind of backbuilding a little bit into Kansas. Another highlighted area for supercell storms producing a few tornadoes will be down here in south central Texas and in central Texas itself, and maybe as far north like the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but there's where they have the tornado risk, and they've actually increased the outline of the low percentage to include more of southeast Oklahoma. I'll tell you why here in a minute, and then on to the east for all overnight stuff. But otherwise, the big risk is up here in the yellow and the red. And of course, we've got a hail risk and a wind risk. So there's the wind and there's the hail. So kind of in both areas highlighted, but you can't see that hatch zone here. Everything in Oklahoma is conditional, meaning it is not a guarantee. It is a very low probability of occurring. But here is the risk should it occur. The slight risk extends around Enid, just west of Oklahoma City to Lawton, and then points to the east. Baseball-sized hail, yes, we even had some of those already in the storms from yesterday. And in Sunday night, we had some really large hail. Maximum wind speeds up around 80, a low threat for a tornado. And again, this all is dependent upon if we even see a storm in Oklahoma. Same thing for eastern Oklahoma, same idea, up to tennis ball size hail, maybe baseball, especially down here in southern Oklahoma. If storms form, then severe weather is likely. There's a big if today in the weather community, big if. There was a lot of promises for the last 10 days, but all of a sudden today it's a big if. So I've been telling you for a while, it's been a big if for a while, and it still looks like a big if. Mostly likely time for severe storms, 4 to 8 p.m. out in this region, so where the dry line is setting up, and then everything kind of rolls to the east after that. And then we'll talk about the dry line to see if it's going to fire things off today. Here's the tornado potential along the I-35 corridor and points to the east, still fairly low. Okay, all that's said and done. That's from the graphs from the National Weather Service, so thanks, guys. You do a great job over there down in Norman. So we talked about an upper level disturbance that will be coming in, basically cruising this little track of the jet stream right over Texas and then moving into kind of the Arklatex region, something like that. Well, as it does so, you can see what it's doing. It's bringing in all that cloud and moisture shield, which is putting the kibosh on the severe weather threat for the eastern parts of the state for our typical afternoon heating, destabilization, and mixing of the atmosphere. So once more is our next upper disturbance, the main upper level low, is way up here, and the energy kicking out ahead of that is kind of coming in this fashion here. Okay, so what happens is this track of the jet stream kind of influences this region. So what you have here is a null. You get no action. You get no lift. We're in between systems. And on top of that, usually once this system here starts to get in this position, on the back end of it, in this region, you get subsidence or sinking air. We talked about this in the last few days as well. So we have these clouds to help limit heating. We have any rain showers that comes in. That additional helps to limit heating, messes up the atmosphere. If you get storms that are too big down here, it can disrupt the dew points, and those can actually mix out with some drier air, which will come northward in Oklahoma, and that messes things up. So this right here was what I think the European honed in on Saturday morning, and then that just changed everything. So it's there it is. Okay, so let's move on. That was some of the technical details as to why things are a lot less than they are. If you look at the upper levels in the atmosphere in the color map, the brighter the colors indicate the lift. So there's that little spot of energy down here, southeast Oklahoma on into Texas and Arkansas, and then here's that other secondary area coming in across the northern plains. So we're kind of in between two main systems, and then as you notice on Wednesday, this little lift right here that comes through the state, that's pretty potent, but the problem is this comes through in the afternoon out across the east, and it's already done. So there's nothing expected across the western, I'd say the western 4/5 of the state, only the last fifth on the east. From basically Tulsa south and east of the border is the only chance of seeing any rain or storms out of that mess on Wednesday. Otherwise, it's a big Arkansas event. When you do get that mid-level lift in the atmosphere, let me show you this. All this red indicates lift, which means storms to form. If you notice in the dark areas, these are actually where the models think there was a lot of storms that formed within this lift, which creates subsidence areas. and those move northward here into Oklahoma around the mid to late afternoon. So the models do indicate some at least decent storms moving into southeast Oklahoma with this event. But what can also happen though is a dry line. This is the dew point value. Look at all the moisture streaming northward. But watch what happens out in western Texas. See this? See all this stuff right here? You see this disruption in the colors? This is where the dry line down here fires and triggers showers and storms. Now watch what happens. See this expansion? Look at all these dew point values drop. They were right around 70. Now they've dropped to 50s. So what happens is you get dry air that comes in out of the back end of these storms, and then that expands and it moves northward. It gets caught up in the overall mean flow. Look how it's racing toward central Oklahoma and out to the west where the dry line's setting up for this afternoon. That kills everything. So there's no chance in the world you get anything severe when this type of disruption occurs at the lowest levels. So that was another thing we talked about over the weekend. All right, we zoom in to where the dry line should be around 6 o'clock this afternoon. Draw a little line here for you. Again, the dry line is a separation of where it is moist and where it is dry. What I mean by that, out here, dew point values around 20. That's bone dry. That's also the fire danger concern. Out here in the east, dew point values near 70 in some areas. Now, there is a mixture of some lower dew points mixed in. Specifically, here's 59. So the atmosphere is not going to be completely uniform. But what happened also we talked about is the fact that we have a lack of good convergence on the dry line. The winds are pretty much paralleling the feature. You need these winds to come right at each other for good convergence, both on the east side and west side, and we don't have that. So without that, a lot of times dry line does not fire, especially when there is a cap in place, and there is a cap in place here along the dry line. All right, so we do take a forecast sounding here, plot 1 for Oklahoma City. Let's just assume the dry line fires, okay? Let's assume it moves in Oklahoma City around I've got it here at the 6 o'clock hour, okay? What is potentially on the table? So let's just say one storm fires. That's it. That's all Mother Nature can do. What's it going to run into? What environment here across the greater metro do we have? Well, we have a lot of shear, so we have a lot of turning with height, or I should say storm relative helicity. The directional shear, though, is not all that great. We don't have a good southeast wind, so there's not a lot of turnings. That's a limiting factor. That alone helps to limit the classic supercell look. Also, our cloud bases are pretty high. Lifting condensation levels way above 1 kilometer. So usually don't get tornadoes in that environment either. Now you can get some hail, and we do have some significant hail up around baseball size, on the tennis ball size on the algorithms. Wind damage also with a wind damage rating of 2. Ship model is over 2, which means greater than 2-inch size hail. Supercell storm, so guaranteed it's a supercell, but it's probably going to have a hard time producing a tornado given this environment, and that's here on the short-term model over Oklahoma City. So that's just an example of what, if a storm were to happen, the environment it's going into right here at 6 o'clock, as these Kate values come into around 3,000 joules per kilogram. So that's kind of how things look for the late afternoon, the setup across the state. So we talked about, where is the best significant tornado parameter kind of a deal? Well, look up here in Iowa. We see these are off the charts. So you want to see an atmosphere that's conducive or prime for just tornadoes. Look at the difference in their profile. You see these winds are out of the southeast, and then they turn to the southwest. They have better shear, a little lower on the LCLs. They have their indices over here. Supercell says 53. I don't think I've ever seen it that high. Significant tornado parameter, also never seen it that high. Ship model of 3, which means gargantuan hail. And if you look here on the effective storm, significant tornado parameter, it's so high it's off the chart. You see this little line right here? This is it, this pink line. That means EF5 category. So this is a nasty forecast sounding for a tornado outbreak. And when you compare this to Oklahoma, we can't even come close to that. So that's why Iowa's, if you're a storm chaser, is a place to be. Now, we will have our tornado indices go up a little bit here late this afternoon and evening across Oklahoma. But like we said, it's not exactly perfectly ideal, but there is a lot of ingredients there. So if we can get a one storm, it would require to be watched carefully for that potential. Otherwise, it'll have a lot of hail with it. Now, we do look at our short-term model. Fires off these supercell storms south of Dallas. Remember, that's that other favored area we talked about. And then look right here. It tries to get those storms going out here in northwest Texas, crossing over the Red River. And we mentioned this also on my Facebook Live yesterday, and then now today, the model data is still there. Starting to shift a little bit more east, so it's taken like Duncan and points westward out of the equation. moving it more toward Ardmore, which was my eastward area of the window. So it still falls in the window. But from this point forward, the models continue to kind of push it to the northeast, and it kind of dies out. Now, there are a lot of other models that keep some of these storms going and clipping southeast Oklahoma like they did last night. Now, I can go with that as far as the outcome. So I like the Red River as a secondary play for severe weather. Most of it across into Texas, some at those sneaking into Oklahoma. Those, again, hail makers, potential tornado with that. All right, so that is our high-resolution model across the Southern Plains. See how that will verify. You can see how that moved into Arkansas. Here's a close-up view of that, by the way. So let me back this up. This is 7 o'clock this evening, and then there's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So it'll be a after 5 event here for Oklahoma, and that stuff moves on out. There's some indications there of additional storms late into Wednesday morning as the cold front starts to move in from the north and west. Now, when we look at those storms down in the south, there is a little bit of a helicity track with them. Here, 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 here. There's a sign. Now, again, what that mainly means is large hail. Potentially could mean a tornado if conditions are right during the time that they're moving through. Take a look here at the tech model. It hadn't finished coming in yet when I was getting things together. But look at there. It does what it's been doing, which is good. So the consistency is there. It's keeping the majority of these supercell storms lined up along I-35 into Texas. The far northern one here, getting close to Red River. And this is at 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock. But it does have these storms going through Dallas. So it does have tornadic type storms potentially going through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that is obviously of concern. Now, when we look at some of our most aggressive experimental models that try to do a really good job at this kind of stuff for convection, you can see how it blows stuff up. Hold on a second. That's not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. There we go. It blows stuff up around Dallas, etc. Back out here just due south of Duncan across the Red River. And then it moves it across the river. And there's southeastern Oklahoma. There's that little supercell there with a little trail. Otherwise, all that mess down in north and central Texas. So there's Arkansas lining up about 9, 10 o'clock with some supercell storms, potential tornadoes. This extends all the way down to eastern, northeastern Texas. So you kind of get the gist. This is the same outcome no matter which model I pick. This is the same story, and it's been that way here for a while. And then there's Arkansas lighting up on Wednesday afternoon. So there's supercell storms for Arkansas. So Arkansas really gets hit over this event here. They've actually gotten their share of severe weather. Now today, winds have already been gusty. I took a 47 mile per hour wind gust at my house, and they will still be gusting into the 40s today. But once these little showers bubble up in some storms, as they decay and die, there will be pockets of downburst winds that do shift northward, and they could be as high as 50 miles an hour with the low-level jet kicking in. So we might see a little bit extra wind this evening, even though you may not have a storm to reference it by. Rainfall, best amounts of rain will be across the eastern third of Oklahoma for the last part of this event lining up for today, tonight, tomorrow. Temperatures, we talked about kind of up and down a little bit, but not bad. Pretty pleasant for the afternoon. Warmest day is going to be on Friday at 82 degrees once we get through to today. By the way, there is a cap in place. I didn't show you that in the sounding, but the forecasted cap strength is right around 88 to 90 degrees, depending on which model you use. And the highest we should get is about 86 at the most. It says 84, it's kind of a blend. But so again, even just raw temperatures, we're brute forcing from just heat. It looks like we're not going to do it. Down in cold spell time, we've got Thursday morning to watch out for if you got some tender vegetation, and also around the 19th. Models been going back and forth on these two morning as being the coldest of the stretch, so just make sure you've got your plants taken care of. All right, that is it for me. I'm out. I can't say anything more. My lunchtime is coming to an end, as I'm sure so is yours. But you've got everything you need to know, which is basically most of the state is going to be completely severe weather free. The best odds are down south along the Red River and a couple of those counties inward here, starting in south central Oklahoma. Say older data had it as far north as Norman, but most of it down south, Paoli, Pauls Valley to Ardmore. And then kind of east along the Red River Valley, say well south of McAllister, so again we're talking far southern and southeastern Oklahoma. That's the best opportunity for any severe weather today. I'll be watching that, so I'll do a live broadcast. It looks like tornadoes will occur. If there are going to be tornadic supercells in North Texas, I'll go ahead and cover those, extending down toward Dallas. That's going to be all I expect. Now, if the dry line somehow miraculously goes against all bits of logic and pops up a storm or two, we'll track those because those will be big hail makers moving into central Oklahoma. And then, as I said at the beginning, not very favorable for tornadoes. But as we go through the evening, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, if those storms still exist, they'll be a little bit better suited to produce a tornado. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So potentially a day, but it's a very what we call conditional. Usually on those conditional days, nothing happens. So let's just fingers crossed and nothing happens, right? And if you want all the action and everything else, keep your eyes up north at Iowa and far northeast Kansas. Okay, that's it from me. I'm out of here. You guys have a great rest of your day. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell everybody about the weather conditions for later today into tonight. And I'll keep you updated. All right, stay safe, everyone.